imagine falling over
falls
everywhere.
over all the time. And because I am disabled the way I am, I can't bend down and pick it up.
Oh, I know, and I have to do that bit.
Yeah, and I have to wipe the dog's mucus from its eyes.
Do you notice anything
merry.
different? Yeah? Ho, ho, ho.
It looked like a love story that nothing could shake, until it shattered. For years, Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford weren't just another celebrity couple. They were the couple. The warm smiles on daytime TV, the effortless chemistry, the playful on-air banter that made viewers feel like they were watching something real. To millions, they were the gold standard of lasting love in British broadcasting. And then, suddenly, the fairy tale cracked. What seemed steady and unbreakable began to unravel, not quietly, not gently, but in a way that left fans stunned. The separation didn't just mark the end of a marriage, it shook the image of a partnership people believed in for decades. When a relationship built in front of the cameras falls apart, the questions don't stay private for long. Now, at 66, Eamonn's recent moves and public moments are speaking louder than any official statement ever could. Subtle shifts, unspoken tension, decisions that hint at what may have been happening long before the headlines caught up. It's the kind of unfolding drama that feels less like real life and more like primetime television, except this time there's no script. So what really happened behind the polished smiles and studio lights? How did two people who once looked perfectly in sync drift so far apart? Because when a love story this public comes undone, the truth is rarely as simple as it seems. The couple everyone believed in. Before everything fell apart, let's remember who they were. Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford weren't just another famous pair. To many people in Britain, they were the couple. The steady ones, the fun ones, the proof that love could last in the spotlight. For years, they hosted This Morning side by side from 2006 to 2021. Viewers tuned in not just for the headlines, but for their playful teasing and natural chemistry. It never felt forced, it felt real. But their story didn't start on TV. They began dating in 1996, 27 years together, 14 years married. In 2010, they tied the knot at Elvetham Hall, a stunning country house that looked like something from a romance film. They built a life, raised their son Jack, and carried on as if nothing could shake them. From the outside, they looked solid, comfortable, happy. The kind of couple that made you think, maybe it actually works. And that's exactly why what happened next hit so hard. The split no one expected. In May 2024, the news landed without warning. A short public statement confirmed that their marriage was over and that they were divorcing. Just like that. Nearly 27 years together, finished. Fans were stunned. How does a relationship that long simply end? What changes after 27 years? Looking back, there had been small signs. They hadn't been seen together much in public for quite some time, but most people assumed they were busy. Careers, family, life. No one imagined something deeper was wrong. Both of them stayed quiet. No dramatic interviews, no social media arguments, just silence. And sometimes silence makes the story louder, because behind closed doors, something had already shifted. The phone call. According to reports, everything changed with a single moment, a phone call. It's said that Ruth overheard Eamonn having what were described as intimate conversations with another woman. He believed he was alone in the house. He wasn't. Imagine that moment. You think your world is steady, you're caring for your husband through serious health problems, and then you hear something that doesn't make sense. Reports also claimed messages were later found on a laptop, messages that confirmed her fears. When she confronted him, it reportedly came as a shock to both of them. He didn't realize she was home. She didn't realize how far things had gone. For Ruth, it wasn't just about a conversation, it was about trust. After years of standing by his side, that discovery must have felt like the ground disappearing beneath her feet. But to truly understand why it hurt so deeply, you have to look at what their life had been like before that moment. The years of struggle. For a long time, Eamonn had been open about his serious health issues, chronic back pain, spinal surgery, mobility problems, and ongoing complications. It wasn't easy. And through it all, Ruth was there, not just as a wife, but as a caregiver, supporting him through hospital visits, recovery periods, and the daily reality of living with pain. While viewers saw the presenter on screen, she saw the man behind the scenes, struggling to move, trying to stay strong. That's why the alleged discovery felt even more painful. Loyalty during the hardest times means something. His health challenges continued publicly as well, with absences from his role at GB News raising concern among viewers. But while Ruth was focused on holding things together, another connection had quietly grown. Katie Alexander. The woman later named in reports was Katie Alexander, said to be 22 years younger than Eamonn, and notably a relationship counselor. The irony wasn't lost on the public. It's believed they first connected on social media back in 2015, nearly 9 years before the divorce announcement. While no one outside the relationship knows exactly when things changed, the timeline certainly raised questions. What became clear, however, was how quickly everything moved into the open. By November 2024, just 6 months after the split was confirmed, Eamonn and Katie appeared publicly together at the Irish Post Awards. Not long after, reports suggested he had purchased a property near Belfast in Northern Ireland, a fresh start, away from old memories. He was also reported to have spent Christmas 2025 with Katie at the luxury resort Rudding Park. While one chapter was closing, another was clearly beginning. Ruth's heartbreak and healing. While Eamonn appeared to move on quickly, Ruth's path has unfolded at a much slower, more thoughtful pace, and in many ways, it's been powerful to watch. From the start, Ruth has been honest about how painful the breakup was. Instead of hiding her struggles, she chose to face them head-on. She began counseling when they separated and has continued ever since. In an interview with Woman & Home, she explained, "I started counseling when Eamonn and I separated, and I'm still having it. It is very powerful and very useful. It gives me tools to deal with things." At the beginning, she admitted she felt overwhelmed. She described seeing darkness and wondering what would happen next. But rather than let fear take over, Ruth made a quiet but firm decision. This would not define her. And she meant it. She focused on her work, continued appearing on Loose Women, and remained calm and professional even while her private life was falling apart behind the scenes. That kind of strength doesn't happen by accident. It's built day by day. Outside of work, her world became smaller but more meaningful. She spent more time with her son Jack, who has reportedly stood firmly by her side. At the same time, she's caring for her 94-year-old mother, Joan, who is living with Alzheimer's. Since the separation, Ruth, her mom, and her dog Maggie have all been under one roof. Maggie, who stays primarily with Ruth, has been one small but steady source of comfort. Still, this isn't a story about someone simply surviving. It's about someone rebuilding. Ruth has been reconnecting with friends, rediscovering who she is as an individual, and learning how to feel comfortable on her own. As she put it, "I'm quite fine being on my own, but not forever. I'm trying to now embrace the fact I'm single and can make choices that are just about me." She hasn't ruled out love in the future either. When asked about marriage again, she answered carefully, "Never say never. I haven't even been put off marriage, but I'm definitely not actively looking. I've realized I'm actually quite good on my own." And that might be the biggest shift of all. Not bitterness, not blame, but growth. So when you step back and look at both of their journeys, it raises a bigger question. What does starting over really look like later in life? The family fallout. Beyond the headlines and the romance rumors, the hardest part may be what this has meant for their family, especially for their son Jack. In January 2026, reports claimed Ruth was deeply upset that Eamonn had not reached out to Jack over Christmas and New Year. According to Bella magazine, little effort was made to reconnect during the holidays. A source alleged that Ruth felt the least he could have done was offer some kind of peace gesture. Right now, the relationship between father and son is said to be strained. From Jack's perspective, the situation couldn't have been easy. He watched his mother care for his father through serious health challenges, only to see his dad begin a new chapter soon after the split. Processing all of that, publicly, would test anyone. The missed holiday contact, if true, only adds to the tension. When families fracture, it's rarely just about two people. The ripple effect reaches everyone, and sometimes that's where the deepest hurt lives. Ruth's upcoming memoir. Now the story is entering a new phase. While Eamonn has largely remained quiet about the details of the separation, Ruth is preparing to share her voice in a different way. In December 2025, she announced her memoir, Feeling Fabulous, set for release on February 26, 2026. She's described it as a memoir plus, not simply a timeline of events, but a reflection on the experiences that shaped her. According to Ruth, the book will explore the highs, the lows, and the lessons she's learned along the way. She told her followers, "It's stories from my life, actual things that have happened to me, how I've dealt with them, the lessons I've learned from them, how I've dealt with them, how I'm finding life now at 65. Some stories, she says, are heartwarming, others are painful, a few might even make readers laugh, but above all, she wants the book to show her resilience." Now, she hasn't promised dramatic revelations about the breakup, but given the timing, nearly 2 years after the split, it's hard to imagine she won't at least reflect on that chapter. Enough time has passed for emotions to settle and perspective to form. The real question isn't just what she'll say, it's how people will respond once her side of the story is finally in print.
The divorce behind closed doors. Away from the cameras, the legal side of the split appears complicated as well. Reports suggest there have been disagreements over finances, including the likely sale of their Surrey home, the house where they built their life together and raised Jack. Letting go of a place filled with shared memories is never simple. There have also been financial challenges tied to Eamonn's dispute with HMRC regarding his employment status during his years presenting This Morning between 2011 and 2015. Those issues have reportedly added further strain to an already delicate situation. Publicly, both have maintained distance and professionalism. Neither has openly criticized the other. Yet the tension remains noticeable, even without words. The divorce has not yet been finalized, which means this chapter is still unfolding, and with Ruth's memoir about to be released, the conversation may shift once again. As her story prepares to meet the world, one final question hangs in the air. When she finally speaks fully, will it bring closure or open an entirely new chapter? So this is where the story lands, the heartbreaking collapse of one of British television's most admired partnerships. For nearly 30 years, Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford looked like the definition of lasting love. Viewers watched them laugh together, work together, and build a life that seemed steady and unbreakable. From the outside, it felt like a fairy tale that had stood the test of time. But behind the smiles and studio lights, something very different was unfolding. What began as a love story slowly unraveled into accusations of betrayal, an unexpected new romance, family tension, and two lives moving in completely opposite directions. At 66, Eamonn is navigating serious health challenges while stepping into a fresh chapter with 43-year-old Katie Alexander. He has reportedly invested in a new property for their future and spent the holidays with her, signaling that he's fully embraced this new beginning. On the surface, it may look like he has moved forward without hesitation, yet questions linger. His bond with his son appears strained, and his once solid public image has undeniably taken a blow. Meanwhile, 65-year-old Ruth has chosen a very different path. Instead of rushing into something new, she's focused on rebuilding herself. She's attending therapy, she's caring for her elderly mother, she's continuing her work with quiet professionalism, and perhaps most powerfully, she's learning how to stand firmly on her own. Soon, she'll share her truth in a memoir, her voice, her version, her experience. Of course, none of us were inside their home. We don't know every private conversation or every fragile moment, but what has come to light tells a painful story. Ruth stood by Eamonn during his most difficult health battles, only to discover he had been engaging in deeply personal conversations with another woman. For her, that discovery ended the marriage immediately, and not long after, Eamonn's new relationship became public, a clean break, at least on the surface. Now, the question everyone is asking, what will Ruth reveal in her book? Will she address the rumors directly? Will she confirm what many suspect? Or will her silence speak louder than any headline ever could? Time will tell. If there's one lesson in all of this, it's that appearances can be incredibly deceiving. A relationship can look rock solid from the outside, while quietly cracking beneath the surface. Even couples we believe are unshakable can be carrying unseen fractures. And when those fractures finally split open, the emotional aftermath can be overwhelming. In the end, this isn't just about celebrity drama. It's about love, loyalty, trust, and what happens when those foundations give way. Some people rebuild with someone new, others rebuild themselves. And sometimes the strongest comeback isn't loud at all. It's steady, private, and deeply personal. Now, I'd love to hear your take. Do you think this could have been handled differently? Whose journey resonates more with you? Share your thoughts below and let's talk about it. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure you support the channel so you don't miss what unfolds next. Stories like this don't just end, they evolve, and we'll be right here when the next chapter begins.